The cursed descent. The night sky was burning. Two small escape pods shot through the clouds like fireballs, leaving behind trails of smoke. Deep inside the falling pods, two alien girls sat still, their faces cold with anger and fear. Their hands were chained. Their armor was gone, and their powers were sealed. They had been royalty once, daughters of a great house. But now they were nothing more than punishment. "This planet will teach you pain," the Queen had said before throwing them away. "Feel what weakness is. Live as humans do. And maybe, if you survive, you'll understand why you were cursed." The younger sister, Liza, clenched her jaw. "I hate her," she whispered. The older one, Vera, didn't reply. She stared out the pod's window as the blue and green planet below grew closer. Her thoughts were somewhere else, back home, with the faces of the people who cheered when they were taken away. Earth. They had heard of it. A primitive world, full of wars, dirt, and humans, weak beings with no honor. A loud alarm beeped. The pod shook, metal groaned. Impact. Both pods crashed into a thick forest, trees snapping like sticks, soil flying up in dark waves. The night went silent again, but the air was no longer calm. Vera dragged herself out of the wreckage. Her body hurt. Her skin was now soft and pale like a human. She hated it, hated how weak she felt, hated how cold the wind was against her skin. "Liza!" she shouted, limping toward the second pod. The door opened with a hiss. Liza crawled out, coughing. Her left arm was bleeding and her eyes were wide with panic. "I can't feel my power," she said. "It's gone. Everything is gone." Vera helped her up, teeth clenched. "Then we survive, no matter what." The forest around them was dark and wet. Strange animal sounds echoed between the trees. The sisters were not used to fear, but tonight it wrapped around them like chains. After walking for hours, they found nothing. No shelter, no light, just more cold and silence. Vera's legs gave out first. Then Liza dropped beside her. "This is the curse," Liza whispered. "Dying slowly on a dirt planet." They didn't notice the figure watching from behind the trees. A man. He stood still, holding a small flashlight in one hand and a hunting rifle in the other. His clothes were worn. His face was tired, but his eyes were calm and sharp. He stepped closer. The flashlight's beam fell on the two alien girls. Their skin was pale, clothes torn, faces covered in dust and blood. They looked half dead. Vera growled, "Stay back, human." The man didn't speak. He knelt beside them and offered a blanket. "You're hurt," he said softly. Liza blinked. Why would you help us?" "Because no one else will," he replied. They passed out before they could argue. They woke up hours later inside, a wooden cabin. A fire crackled in the corner. Thick blankets covered them. There was a strange smell in the air. Something warm and sweet. Soup. Vera sat up quickly, alert. She looked around. The room was small, but clean. Wooden shelves held books and tools. A painting of a forest hung on one wall. The man was sitting at a small table pouring hot soup into bowls. "Eat," he said without turning around. "Who are you?" Vera asked. He paused for a moment. "Just someone who lives far away from people." Liza sat up, rubbing her eyes. "You're not scared of us?" He finally turned. "Should I be?" Vera frowned. "We're not like you. I figured," he said calmly. "But I don't care." The sisters exchanged a glance. This man was strange, too calm, too kind. "You should have left us in the forest," Vera said. "Maybe," he replied. "But I didn't." Outside, the wind howled. A storm was building. Inside, the cabin felt warm. Safe. Vera hated how safe it felt. She didn't trust this human. Not yet. Not with his silence. Not with the way he looked at them without fear. And deep down she knew this was not kindness. It was something else. something more dangerous. The curse had begun, but it was no longer in their control. The first warmth, the rain did not stop for 2 days. The cabin stood like a lonely island in a sea of mud and trees. Wind beat against the wooden walls and thunder rolled in the sky. But inside, it was strangely quiet. Vera sat by the fire, arms crossed, staring into the flames. She hated the silence. Liza sat on the floor nearby, wrapped in a thick blanket, holding a steaming bowl of soup. Her eyes were softer now, confused, thoughtful. The man, the human, moved around the cabin like a ghost. He barely spoke. He cooked, cleaned, and fixed things with quiet skill. He didn't ask questions, didn't stare, didn't treat them like monsters. It was unnatural. Why hasn't he tried anything? Vera whispered to Liza. Liza shook her head. I don't know. He hasn't even asked who we are. He knows, Vera said, her voice low. He knew the moment he saw us. No normal human helps 2 alien girls with blood on their faces and strange symbols on their skin. Liza looked down. The seal mark on her wrist was still glowing faintly, a sign of their punishment, a reminder of who they once were, and what they had lost. What if he's hiding something, Vera asked. What if we are? Liza replied. The next morning, they found the man chopping wood outside. The rain had stopped, but the air was sharp and cold. Mist hung between the trees. Vera walked out slowly. What's your name? He didn't look at her. Just kept chopping. I don't use it anymore, he said. Why? Names are for people who belong somewhere. She frowned. You live alone in the woods. Why? He stopped, leaned on the axe, looked her in the eyes for the first time. Because the last place I belonged to was burned, he said. Vera felt something twist in her chest. She didn't like it. You still didn't answer my question, she said, trying to sound strong. He wiped his hands and walked back to the cabin. You're safe here. That's all that matters. Later that day, Liza helped him in the kitchen, chopping vegetables, washing dishes. She laughed once, just once, when she dropped a spoon and he caught it without looking. How did you do that? She asked. He smiled, just a little. Habit. You were a soldier? He paused. Something like that. You're not afraid of us, only should I be? Maybe. He looked at her, his face serious now. Fear is useless when you've already lost everything. Liza didn't know what to say. That night, Vera couldn't sleep. She stepped out into the cold air, her breath steaming. The stars above were different from the ones back home. Bigger. Quieter. She walked around the cabin and found a trapdoor hidden behind some bushes. Curious, she opened it. Wooden steps led down into darkness. She climbed down. What she found below made her freeze. Weapons. Alien. Weapons. Not human-made. Not Earth-born. A broken stasis pod. A cracked translator helmet. A scanner device with her homeworld's crest. Vera stared at it all, heart racing. You've been to our galaxy, she whispered. No, came a voice behind her, cold and calm. Your galaxy came to me. She turned fast. The man stood at the top of the stairs watching her. His face wasn't angry. It was tired, like someone who had waited a long time for something he never wanted to see again. You lied, Vera said. I never said who I was, he replied. You assumed I was just human. What are you? Someone who survived your people's war. Barely. She took a step back. Why help us then? He looked down at her. Because once, I begged your kind to show mercy, and they didn't. So this is revenge? She snapped. No, he said. This is my test, to see if you two will become the same monsters who sent you here, or something better. When she came back up, Liza saw her face and knew something had changed. Vera said nothing, just sat by the fire, staring into the flames again. But this time, her hands were shaking. Liza placed a hand over hers. What happened? she asked softly. Vera looked at her, eyes wide and full of something strange. We were cursed, she said. But maybe this man was too. The hidden paint of fire had burned low. Outside, frost clung to the edges of the window. The night was deep and still, but inside the cabin, Vera's mind was storming. She couldn't forget what she saw under the trapdoor. Alien weapons, relics, from her own world, hidden inside a human shelter. It made no sense. Why would a simple man in the forest have access to advanced tech? Why was he silent about it? She lay on the wooden floor, pretending to sleep, but her eyes were open, alert, listening. Across the room, Liza was truly asleep, breathing softly, curled under a thick blanket. Her face was peaceful, too peaceful for someone who was once feared among their kind. But Vera couldn't rest. Then, she heard it, a whisper. It came from the corner of the cabin near the desk. The man was sitting there, his back to them, head low, shoulders stiff. He was speaking to something, or someone. Vera silently crawled closer, hiding behind a shelf. She peeked through a gap. He was holding a small hollow device, cracked but glowing. A photo flickered on the screen. A woman, a little girl, smiling. I should have protected you, he whispered. I should have never trusted them. His voice broke. They came as friends. They sat at my table, shared my food, and then they destroyed everything. Vera froze. Was he talking about her people? I begged, he said. I told them humans were peaceful. We offered them help. But they saw weakness, and weakness must be erased. A long silence. Then he whispered, almost to himself. I was a fool. Vera stepped back. Her chest felt tight. He wasn't lying. He wasn't playing a game. He had lived through something real, something terrible. And now he was alone. The next morning, Vera didn't speak much. She cooked quietly, cleaned the dishes, watched the man carefully. She noticed how he always avoided talking about the past, how he never looked at the photo frame on the shelf, how his hands sometimes shook when he held the firewood too long. The strongest ones were always the ones hiding the most pain. Did you know, he said suddenly, that this forest was once a village? Vera looked up. What happened to it? Liza asked. He stared into the fire. It burned. The ground still remembers the heat. Sometimes when it rains, the old ashes rise. Who did it? Vera asked, though she already knew. Aliens, he said simply. He didn't say it with hate, not with anger, just emptiness. Why didn't you leave? Liza asked softly. He looked at them both. Because I don't run. Not anymore. That evening, Liza stepped outside for water. As she walked toward the stream, she heard a strange hum, deep, distant, and mechanical. She turned. Something moved between the trees, too fast for any human, too silent for any animal. She froze, and then it was gone. She rushed back to the cabin. Someone's watching us, she whispered. The man's face darkened. He reached under the bed and pulled out a scanner, the same one Vera had seen underground. He turned it on. A red light blinked. They found us, he said. Who? Liza asked. He looked at her, his voice low and cold. Your kind. Later that night, while the girls sat near the fire, Vera finally asked the question burning inside her. What happened to your daughter? The man didn't move for a long time. Then he stood up and pulled the photo from the shelf. He sat down slowly. Her name was Ivy, he said. She was 8, loved painting stars, thought aliens were cool. He smiled for a second. Then the smile vanished. When the delegation came, we were chosen to host them. Peaceful exchange, they said, cultural sharing. He paused. But it was a lie. They scanned our minds, stole our data, and when they were done, they wiped out every town that saw them. He pointed to the forest. This was her home. I buried her beneath that tree out there. Silence filled the cabin. Liza looked down, tears in her eyes. Vera's fists were clenched, not in anger, but guilt. "Why didn't you kill us when you saw us?" she asked. The man looked at her, tired but steady. "Because I saw something different in your eyes. Pain. Confusion. Not hate." He leaned back. "Maybe you were cursed, but so was I. And sometimes broken souls understand each other better than anyone else." As the fire died down, Vera stood and walked to the door. "I need air," she said. Outside, the stars were sharp and silent. She looked up. For the first time since she was exiled, she didn't feel cursed. She felt something far more terrifying. Responsibility. The Queen's Spy the Forest was too quiet. Even the wind seemed to avoid the cabin that night. Inside, Vera stared at the fire while Liza paced the floor. The human, still nameless to them, was at the workbench checking the scanner again and again. The red signal still blinked. Someone was coming. "Can you track how far they are?" Vera asked. He nodded slowly. "No more than 4 days, maybe less. The signal is bouncing off something, like it's being masked." "A cloaked ship?" Liza whispered. "Possibly," he said. "They're careful. Too careful." Liza sat down, hands shaking. "I thought maybe we were safe. Here." "No one's ever safe from her," Vera said bitterly. Liza looked up. "You think the Queen sent someone to kill us?" Vera hesitated. "No, not to kill. To remind us we belong to her. To show we can never escape." The human stood silently, listening. Then he said something that made both sisters freeze. "You were marked," he said. "One of you is still transmitting." They didn't speak for a moment. "What do you mean?" Liza asked slowly. "One of you has a tracking device inside you," he replied. "Not something on your clothes. Inside. Your body. Biological. Hard to find. Nearly impossible to remove." Vera's eyes narrowed. "You knew?" "I had a suspicion. But when the scanner picked up a trace of quantum residue, I was sure." Liza's face turned pale. "So, we brought danger here?" The man nodded. "Yes, but not just danger. A hunter." "A what?" Vera asked. "Your queen doesn't waste time. She sends only one thing when she wants to erase her mistakes." He walked to a drawer, pulled out a device, and laid it on the table. It was a hologram projector, old and scratched. He pressed a button. An image flickered to life. A tall figure covered in dark armor, eyes glowing red, claws like blades, face hidden behind a mask that looked more beast than man. "This is who's coming for you," he said. "Your people call him the Silent Judgment." Vera stared at the image. She knew that armor. She had seen it once long ago during an execution on her homeworld. "He doesn't take prisoners," she whispered. The man looked at her. "No, and he won't leave until he finishes the mission." The cabin felt colder after that. The man began preparing for war, not like a soldier, but like someone who had done it before. He checked hidden panels in the walls, sealed weak spots in the windows, reinforced the door with heavy metal rods. Liza helped him, though her hands were shaking. Vera watched from the shadows, still processing the truth. "Do you really think we can fight him?" Liza asked. The man didn't answer. Instead, he walked to the table, picked up a small tool, and gently took Liza's arm. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Finding the tracker." He pressed a scanner against her wrist. Green light. Clean. Then he turned to Vera. She didn't move. "I'm not the one," she said coldly. But the man stepped forward, silent, held her arm, scanned. The device beeped red. Vera's heart dropped. "No," she whispered. "It's not possible. It's under your skin," he said. "In your left shoulder, small as a grain of dust. But it's there." Liza stepped back, eyes wide. "So they've been tracking us. Through you?" Vera felt like the floor was collapsing under her. "They put it in me before we left," she said slowly. "I never felt it, never knew." The man didn't blame her. He just nodded. "We have two choices," he said. Remove it, or run. Vera looked him in the eye, then cut it out. In the hidden room below the cabin, the man prepared a table, old surgical tools, clean rags, cold water, a light overhead. Vera lay down without a word. Liza held her hand tightly, her face pale. The man injected something near Vera's shoulder. She gritted her teeth. "This will hurt," he said. "I know," she whispered. The blade was small, but sharp. He worked quickly. Blood spilled, but Vera didn't scream. Within minutes, he pulled out something tiny, glowing red. A living tracker, pulsing like a heart. He crushed it under his boot. The scanner went dark. "Signal's gone," he said. "We bought some time." But far away on the edge of the forest, something moved. A tall figure stepped through the mist. Red eyes glowing, silent, fast. The silent judgment had arrived, and he wasn't alone. Back at the cabin, Vera was weak but alive. Liza stayed close to her. The man cleaned his tools in silence. Then, without warning, the scanner blinked again. "What now?" Liza gasped. The man stared at the screen. "Someone else is here," he said. Vera sat up, breath shaky. "Another hunter?" He shook his head. "No," he said. "This one's not from your world." They stared at him. "Then who is it?" Liza whispered. The man turned, slowly loading his weapon. "Someone I hoped I'd never see again." The storm returns. The storm didn't come from the sky. It came through the trees. Deep in the woods, the ground trembled. Birds flew away in silence. The mist turned red under the glow of something not human. The silent judgment walked without sound, his armor absorbing light, his footsteps leaving no trace. But he wasn't alone. Behind him floated small machines, black orbs, scanning the forest with invisible rays. They were eyes of the Queen. They recorded everything. And they never blinked. He raised his clawed hand. They stopped. Then, with a silent command, they spread into the forest. The hunt had begun. Inside the cabin, the air had changed. The scanners, light pulsed again. The human stared at it, jaw tight. Vera stood slowly, her shoulder bandaged but her eyes sharp again. "You said someone else is coming," she whispered. He nodded. "Not a hunter, not a machine, a person." "From your world?" Liza asked. His answer came slow. "Once, she was." He walked to a hidden panel in the floor and opened it. Inside was a black case sealed tight. He unlocked it and pulled out a weapon none of them had ever seen before. A long gun made of alien metal, with parts that hummed like it was alive. "She was my partner," he said. "In the first contact mission. We came together." Vera stepped closer. "And now?" "She didn't come back with me." Flashback. Years ago, they landed as a peace mission. 2 humans, 3 alien diplomats. Promises were made, hands were shaken, but the aliens betrayed them. They killed everyone except the 2 humans. He was left for dead. She disappeared. When he returned to Earth, broken and grieving, he thought she had died too. But years later, whispers came through, deep channels, that one of the lost humans had joined the other side. Not captured, not brainwashed, but willing. Now she was back. He didn't know why, but he could feel it. Night fell. Outside, the red mist grew closer. Inside the cabin, the sisters prepared themselves. Liza found courage in small things, tying her hair back, sharpening a knife, standing close to Vera. Vera stood tall again. Her strength was returning. Not power, not magic. Something else. Purpose. The man placed the scanner on the table. 3 red dots were moving closer. "They'll be here by dawn," he said. "How do we stop them?" Liza asked. "We don't," he replied. He looked at the map of the forest marked with old battle zones. "We lead them somewhere else." "A trap?" Vera asked. He nodded. "Deep Sector 12, the ruins, old tech fields, unstable ground. We can use it. But they'll follow." Liza said. They're meant to, he replied. As the cabin emptied, Vera stopped at the door. Why are you doing this? She asked him. He didn't look back. Because I already lost everything once. He walked into the woods. The ruins were far twisted metal towers, broken alien machines half buried in the ground. The place felt dead, but it wasn't. Underneath, energy still pulsed, ancient, unstable, and violent. They reached before sunrise. The man set up traps, hidden mines, energy nets, signal blockers. Stay close to the old tower, he told the sisters. If anything happens, run north. Follow the sun. What about you? Vera asked. He smiled, but it wasn't happy. I never planned to leave. The silent judgment arrived just after dawn. He moved like a shadow, scanning the field, his red eyes glowing. He stepped on one of the traps. Boom! An explosion. Rocked the ground. Metal shards flew, cutting trees, burning earth. But when the smoke cleared, the hunter still stood, untouched. The sisters gasped. He didn't even flinch, Liza said. He's armored in phase weave, Vera whispered. Our weapons won't stop him. Then another voice came, from the side. Female. Cold, sharp, but mine will. They turned. A woman stood at the edge of the ruins, tall, human, but not the same. Her armor was alien, her eyes strange. Too calm, the man stepped forward. I thought you died, he said. I did, she replied. And then I was reborn. Why are you here? To finish what we started. Then she raised her weapon, not at the hunter, but at the human. Second explosion shook the ground. The sisters ducked. Dust filled the air. When it cleared, the hunter was gone, moved somewhere fast. The human rolled behind cover, his weapon hot in his hands. The woman, his former partner, moved like lightning, firing strange blasts of blue light. The sisters joined the fight. Liza used speed. Vera used strategy. They worked together, like a team, like a family. Finally, the trap was ready. The human lured the hunter to the edge of a broken tunnel. Remember my name, he said. Then he shot the ground. It collapsed under the hunter's feet, and the entire tunnel swallowed him in fire. Silence, just dust and smoke. But when they turned to the woman, she was gone. No sign, not even a print. Only one thing left behind. A piece of her armor, broken at the edge of the ruins. She'll come back, he said quietly. Vera nodded. So will we. They stand together. The sky was still dark when the fire in the ruins died. The wind had stopped. The birds had vanished. The forest itself seemed to hold its breath. Vera stood at the edge of the broken tunnel, staring into the blackness. The hunter's body had vanished below, swallowed by fire and rock. No movement. No sound. Is he dead? Liza asked, her voice thin. Maybe, the man replied. But I don't believe in easy endings. He tossed a broken piece of armor into the pit. It vanished in the smoke. Liza sat on the cold ground, hands shaking. What was she? She whispered. That woman. Your partner. What happened to her? The man didn't answer right away. He just looked up at the sky. She was strong, smarter than me, braver. But when the aliens betrayed us, she didn't break like I did. She didn't cry. She watched everything burn, and then she chose to become something else. She joined them? Vera asked. He nodded. She became one of their tools. Not brainwashed, not forced, willing. She believed that humans didn't deserve to survive. Liza's eyes filled with tears. How could she? Pain changes people, he said quietly. Sometimes into monsters, sometimes into something stronger. He looked at them both. Which will you become? They returned to the cabin before sunrise. Half the roof was damaged from the earlier fight. The garden was trampled, and the silence was deeper than before. They spent the day fixing what they could. Vera patched the roof, Liza cleaned the inside. The man repaired the door. They worked like people who had shared years together, not just days. By nightfall, a small fire burned again, and something else burned too. Trust. That evening, they sat together at the table for the first time. The man brought out a map, not of Earth but of space, stars, sectors, trade routes, war zones. He pointed to a symbol marked in red. "This," he said, "is where your queen rules. Her empire spreads from here to the edge of known space." "And you?" Liza asked. He pointed to a tiny dot near the edge. "This is where I last stood before being betrayed. A peace station." "Now, ashes." Vera leaned forward. "Why show us this now?" "Because something's changed," he said. He pulled out a small silver box. Inside was a crystal chip. "I've been listening to old frequencies, hidden ones. And yesterday, I heard something." He clicked the chip into a device. A soft voice came through the static. "Phase 1 complete. The curse has fallen. Target human remains active. Initiate Phase 2. Prepare for arrival of the Queen's will." Vera's heart stopped. "She's coming here?" Liza gasped. The man nodded. "Not her body, not yet, but her will, her mind, her power. She's sending a vessel, not just a ship, a living throne." Vera stood. "We have to run." "There's nowhere to run," he said. "If she lands here, this planet dies." "Then what do we do?" Liza asked, voice trembling. The man leaned forward, eyes burning. "We make her bleed." They began preparing that night, not for escape, for war. The man showed them everything he had: stolen alien tech, human weapons fused with hybrid systems, traps hidden deep in the forest. He taught them how to fight without powers, how to move, like shadows, how to aim, not with anger, but purpose. Vera trained in silence, pushing her body harder than ever before. Liza struggled at first. She was gentle by nature. But when she saw the weapons being prepared, something inside her changed. "I don't want to kill," she said. "Then fight to protect," the man told her. The next evening, the sky cracked. A dark shape entered the atmosphere, slow, heavy, alive. It was not a ship. It was a living vessel, like bone and steel fused together, wings spread wide, mouth open like a beast. It roared without sound, and it bled light. It circled once, then landed miles away. The scanner beeped. "Life signs inside," the man said, "but no crew." "What then?" Vera asked. Just her voice, her will. "She's watching, listening." And then the forest began to burn. Trees twisted. Animals ran. The ground cracked. And from the vessel something stepped out. Not the queen. Not a soldier. But something made from her. Tall. Faceless. Floating just above the ground. Its hands dripped with black energy. Its voice was a whisper across the wind. "You were cursed," it said, though no mouth moved. "Now come home." Vera and Liza stood side by side. "We are home," Vera said, "and we won't go back." "You were made by me," the voice replied. "Then we'll remake ourselves," Liza said. The man stepped forward, weapon in hand. "And if you want to take them," he said, "you'll have to go through me." The figure raised its hand. The ground split open. Monsters rose, made of metal and bone, mindless but fast, deadly. Vera turned to the man. "You stood alone before," she said. He nodded. "But not this time," she whispered. They stood together, human and alien, outcasts and warriors, not cursed, not broken, but chosen. The curse reborn, they stood at the edge of the forest, the last line between life and death. Behind them, the old cabin smoked from earlier fire. Ahead of them, the Queen's vessel pulsed like a beating heart, its shape twisting under the sky. From its core, dark soldiers moved silently, bone-like armor, glowing veins, weapons that looked like claws made from shadows, and floating above them all was the voice. Not a body, not a person, but the Queen's mind in a living shell. shaped like a ghost. It spoke with a whisper that made the trees shiver. You were born of my empire, forged in my hand. You are mine. Vera stepped forward. Her armor was old, human-made. Her blade was chipped. But her eyes held something stronger than fire. You gave us pain, she said. Liza stood beside her, smaller, softer, but now steady. You gave us exile. And what did the human give you? The Queen's voice asked, rising like thunder. Weakness? The human stepped between them. No, he said calmly. I gave them choice. The creatures rushed forward, dozens. No fear, no words, only violence. Vera didn't wait. She charged. The first creature swung, but she ducked low and slashed its leg. It fell screaming. Behind her, Liza fought in silence, using every move the human taught her. Quick steps, clean strikes, her hands shook, but her heart didn't. The human fought with brutal focus. He didn't waste motion. He didn't speak. Every shot he fired dropped something dark and deadly. The battle turned into chaos. Fire, blood, shadows. But the three of them moved, like one, a unit, a family, but then it came. The Queen's will moved. It floated forward, arms spread, and everything around it stopped. The creatures froze. The wind paused. Even the fire flickered. Then the earth cracked open, and Vera fell. A deep pit opened under her feet, dragging her into darkness. Vera! Liza screamed, diving toward her. The human reached for her too, but the pit closed. Silence. The Queen's voice filled the air. You are alone now, it said, as you were meant to be. Inside the pit, Vera fell into blackness, but she did not scream. She landed hard. Bones ached. Dust filled her lungs. But she stood. She opened her eyes and gasped. Around her were memories, floating like fog. Her training halls, the Queen's throne, the moment her powers were sealed, but also moments she never remembered seeing. A child, laughing, running through golden fields. A voice whispered, You were not made. You were born. She saw flashes, her real mother, a hidden place, and a choice made long ago to serve a throne she was. Never meant to sit beneath, you were taken, the voice said, now gentler. And now, you can be whole. Vera's chest burned, her seal, the cursed mark, glowed bright red, then cracked and shattered. A wave of light burst from her skin. Power returned. Not the cold, cruel kind she once knew, but something new, something alive. She rose, and the pit could not hold her. Above, Liza was still fighting. The human was, down on one knee bleeding, his gun broken. The Queen's ghost moved closer. This ends now, it said. Then, the ground split apart, and Vera rose from below, glowing, floating, live. No, she said. It begins now. The Queen screamed, not in sound, but in raw power. It struck at Vera like lightning, but Vera raised her hand and stopped it. Mid-air, she stepped forward. One step at a time. You tried to break me, she said. The sky turned gold. You tried to use me. The wind howled. But I found something you never had. She looked back at Liza, at the human, love. With a final cry, Vera raised both hands. Light poured from her, pure, warm, real. The Queen's ghost twisted, screamed, cracked, and vanished. The vessel crumbled. The creatures melted. The wind stopped. The battle was over. Hours passed. The three sat on the hill, staring at the sunrise. The cabin was gone. The field was quiet. Liza leaned against Vera's shoulder. You glowed, she whispered. Vera smiled. Yeah, I guess I did. The human sat beside them, holding a small metal box. Inside was the photo, his daughter. Smiling. She would have liked you both, he said. They didn't speak for a while. The world was calm, for once. Weeks passed. The cabin was rebuilt. Not Just stronger, better. It had 3 beds now and a garden, and a new roof that didn't leak. People came, a few at first, travelers, lost ones, some human, some not. They found safety there, hope. One night, Liza looked at the stars. "Do you think the Queen is really gone?" she asked. Vera stepped beside her. "No," she said, "but next time, we won't run." Liza nodded. "Together?" "Always." The curse was never truly broken, but something better had taken its place. A bond. A promise. And in that quiet part of the world, between forest and fire, sky and soil, a new kind of story began. Not about exile, not about war, but about healing and choosing who you become, even when the stars call you something else.